The story opens in the deeper levels of a treacherous dungeon known as the Abyss. A harsh voice rings out through the gloom, scolding a young adventurer for his extreme carelessness in such a dangerous place. A towering, armored woman looms over the small boy named Light, shouting that he should just accept his death if he intends to remain so weak and pathetic in this unforgiving environment. Light hangs his head in shame, apologizing softly and admitting that he is useless to the party. Another party member remarks that the woman, Sasha, is always surprisingly kind to Light despite her harsh words. Sasha furiously denies any affection, claiming she is only worried that losing a member would tarnish the reputation of their party, the Gathering of Races. The rest of the diverse group chimes in, agreeing that her logic makes sense regarding their public image. They bluntly reinforce the fact that Light is useless and nothing but a burden to their operations. A large dragonkin warrior grunts that the only redeeming quality the boy possesses is his ability to make acceptable tea. Light watches them with admiration, believing that these powerful warriors are truly good people for treating a weak human like him as an equal. He beams with innocent gratitude, expressing how genuinely happy he is to be allowed in their party. The group eventually discovers a section of the cavern that is illuminated by a natural light source. The dragonkin leader identifies this passage as the only valid gateway leading deeper into the cave system. Light eagerly asks if this means they will finally take a break, offering to prepare tea for everyone immediately. The group ignores his enthusiastic offer and continues their march through the rocky terrain without pausing. Light glances up uncertainly at the back of the imposing dragonkin leader as the atmosphere shifts. The leader stops and coldly informs the boy that they have decided to officially expel him from the party. Light freezes in his tracks, unable to comprehend the sudden dismissal. He stammers out a confused question, trying to clarify if he heard the command correctly. Panic sets in as he begs them to reconsider, promising that he will stop being reckless if they just let him stay. The leader cuts him off without emotion, stating that he is simply not needed by the group anymore. An elf woman sighs in relief, remarking on how disgusting it was to share a room with a human and how glad she is to drop the dead weight. Light asks with trembling lips why they have all suddenly changed, recalling how kind they used to be to him. The elf sneers at his naivety, wondering if all humans are too stupid to read the atmosphere before declaring her hatred for his race. A beastman jeers that their previous kindness was nothing more than an act from the very moment they let him join. Light stares at them in horror, the betrayal striking him harder than any physical blow. The dragonkin explains that they only recruited him because his specific gift seemed superior to the trash usually held by humans. He names the boy's ability as the Unlimited Gotcha. Light admits that he barely understands the power himself, only knowing that he was lucky to receive a blessing at all. He explains that he can bring items into the real world from the cards he draws by pressing a button. However, he confesses that for 2 years the power has only produced garbage like moldy bread and broken spoons. The dragonkin nods, confirming that this lack of utility is exactly why they are discarding him now. Light stands in stunned silence, struggling to process the cold logic of his abandonment. The leader reveals that the higher-ups had suspected Light was a master, possessing a mysterious and powerful blessing. Light repeats the title in confusion, having never heard the term applied to him before. The dragonkin scoffs that he is clearly just a human with a trash skill after all. He states definitively that Light's performance has proven he is not the master they were seeking. The elf shudders with visible revulsion at the thought that she might have been forced to mix her blood with a human if he had been the target. She yells at the others to stop making her imagine such a nauseating duty. Light frantically asks what they are talking about, confused by their mentions of a country and a master. The dragonkin decides that they have already spoken too much to a discardable pawn. He orders the group to clean up the mess before other adventurers arrive, ensuring no information leaks out. Light looks at them with wide, fearful eyes as he questions the meaning of cleaning him up. The leader looks back with pity, admitting that the claim about kicking him out was actually a lie. He reveals that the order from the start was to kill him immediately to destroy a potential seed of ruin. A command to die rings out as a sharp claw slashes violently across the boy's vision. The beastman lunges forward with savage intent, striking the terrified boy. Light gasps in agony as the attack connects with his small body. The beastman growls low in his throat, his predatory instincts taking over. He laughs maniacally, declaring that the time for the hunt has finally arrived. Light, bleeding and broken, stammers out a desperate hope that this is all just a twisted joke. He looks at the faces of the people he once trusted, unable to reconcile their kindness with this murderous reality. Tears stream down his cheeks as the finality of their betrayal sinks in. He whispers a broken question, asking why they would want to kill him. The elf laughs cruelly, explaining that they never plan to let him leave and that the monsters of the abyss will feast on his remains. She unleashes a magical attack to prevent him from escaping their encirclement. Light forces his legs to move, sprinting desperately to dodge the incoming spell. He throws himself into a frantic roll across the uneven ground to escape the lethal range of their attacks. An arrow pierces his leg mid-roll, and he screams in agony as he tumbles to the cavern floor. The Beastman praises the sound of his scream, roaring that this thrill is exactly why he can never stop hunting humans. The agony of the betrayal is punctuated by a command to keep screaming as the assault continues against the helpless boy. A monstrous roar drowns out the cavern's silence, followed by a sharp cry of the boy's name. A powerful kick sends Light flying through the air, his small body ragdolling from the force of the blow. His vision blurs, focusing only on the sheer terror and pain radiating through his battered form. Footsteps echo ominously against the stone floor as his pursuer closes the distance with leisurely strides. Light crashes hard onto the unforgiving rock, gasping for breath as a shadow looms over his fallen figure. A guttural scream tears from his throat as another strike lands, the pain overwhelming his senses. He writhes on the ground, reducing his vocalizations to pained whimpers and choked sobs. The dark elf member laughs with sadistic glee, asking for permission to test out her torture magic on the dying boy. A stern voice immediately shuts down the request, forbidding any unnecessary play with the target. Sasha explains coldly that marks of torture would look suspicious and contradict their cover story that Light was killed by dungeon monsters. The dark elf pouts, expressing genuine disappointment that she cannot indulge her cruel desires. The Beastman approaches the prone boy, coughing slightly as he admits he also wanted to play but must follow Sasha's logical orders. Tears stream uncontrollably down Light's bloodied face as he listens to their callous discussion of his murder. The Beastman pins him down, mocking him with a thank you for being such an ignorant plaything and promising a swift death as a reward. Light squeezes his eyes shut and screams a refusal, his survival instinct flaring up in the face of inevitable death. He claws at the ground, dragging his broken body away inches at a time while declaring that he does not want to die. The predator lunges forward, his jaws snapping shut with a sickening crunch that echoes in the cavern. Light coughs up a spray of blood, his body trembling violently as he repeats his desperate mantra of wanting to live. The Beastman laughs at the boy's stubbornness, warning that such resistance only makes the hunt more exciting for him. The Dragonkin leader watches impatiently, stating that since Light is not the master, he is useless and should be finished off immediately. Light's mind races through the pain, confused and terrified that he is being murdered for a title he never claimed to possess. His thoughts fragment as he struggles to comprehend the magnitude of the situation. The crushing reality sets in that there is absolutely no one in this deep dungeon who will come to save him. He acknowledges the massive, insurmountable gap in power and level between him and his former party members. Despite the hopelessness of the odds, a spark of defiance refuses to be extinguished within him. He looks up to see the faces of the people he once admired now twisted into expressions of pure disgust for his humanity. Even as they look at him like trash, his internal voice screams that he still refuses to accept death. His hand shakes uncontrollably as he forces his broken limbs to move one last time. With every ounce of remaining strength, he reaches out, declaring his absolute desire to stay alive. His trembling finger presses down firmly on a hidden mechanism beneath his hand. A blinding light erupts from the floor as a complex magic circle activates beneath his battered body. The Dragonkin's eyes widen in shock as he recognizes the teleportation trap and roars for the others to stop him. The Beastman leaps forward with a curse, swiping his claws at the air where the boy just was. Light fades into the brilliance of the magic, his tear-filled eyes locking onto his murderers one last time. The light vanishes completely, leaving the party striking at nothing but empty air. A heavy silence falls over the group as they stare at the spot where their victim just escaped. The scene shifts to a different, darker part of the dungeon filled with jagged rock formations. Light materializes in midair, gasping for breath as gravity reasserts its hold on him. He hits the ground hard, panting heavily as he questions if he has truly managed to survive. He realizes that the teleportation trap he activated has successfully put distance between him and his executioners. His body goes limp, sliding further down the rough terrain of the cavern floor. He looks around frantically, realizing that while he escaped the immediate threat, he is still trapped deep within the abyss. His eye trembles, the adrenaline fading to reveal the crushing weight of his physical and emotional wounds. He curls into a ball, sobbing uncontrollably as he asks the darkness why he has to suffer such a cruel fate. Visions of his family flood his mind, and he cries out for his father, mother, and siblings, desperate to return to his village. Ideally, he laments that he is just a simple boy from a farming village who never wanted to die rotting in a dungeon. He recalls his innocent hope that leaving home to become an adventurer would allow him to financially support his struggling parents. The memory of the recruitment offer plays in his mind, mocking him with the question of why he didn't join them sooner. He remembers the Dragonkin's false promise of creating a world where all races stand together as equals. A montage of his time with the party flashes by, highlighting how he blindly trusted, respected, and thanked them for their fake kindness. The happy memories fade into blackness, replaced by the searing heat of betrayal. His teeth grit together so hard they threaten to crack as sadness curdles into pure, unadulterated rage. He screams into the void, realizing that every single moment, every smile, and every word they ever said to him was a lie. He recounts how they treated him like trash, laughed at him, humiliated him, and led him to his death, all while pretending to be his friends. The absurdity of killing him just in case he was a master fuels his fury, and he curses their paranoia and the unknown title that ruined him. A terrifying light ignites in his eye as he swears a blood oath to slaughter every single one of them. He vows that he will refuse to die and will crawl back from hell as many times as it takes to exact his revenge. He forces himself to focus on survival, knowing he must stop the bleeding and escape the abyss to see his family and kill his betrayers. He staggers forward, declaring that he will face whatever monster stands in his way, just as a shadowed figure appears before him. A massive, shadowy beast with razor-sharp fangs looms over the battered boy, its guttural growl vibrating through his bones as he accepts the inevitability of his death. His eyes widen in sheer terror as he stares up at the monstrosity, a strangled gasp escaping his throat. Panic floods his mind as he realizes he was too slow to escape, understanding that the predators were drawn to his location by his scent. The dire reality of the situation sets in, and he knows with freezing certainty that he is about to be devoured. He stares in disbelief, his mind refusing to process the sheer scale of the threat before him. An interface window identifies the creature as a hellhound with a staggering level of 1000. Light screams internally at the absurdity of the number, his sanity fraying at the edge of such impossible power. The beast reveals its full, horrific form, leaving Light to question why such a game-breaking entity even exists in this world. He realizes this creature transcends even the wildest myths and legends, a being of pure destruction far beyond human comprehension. A sudden realization strikes him amidst the fear, connecting the dots of his surroundings. He understands that the teleportation trap did not save him but instead dumped him into the deepest, most dangerous uncharted depths of the abyss. The presence of such a legendary monster confirms his location, and the impossibility of the situation threatens to crush his spirit. Survival instinct overrides logic as he scrambles backward, his mind screaming a single command to flee. He freezes in hopelessness, realizing there is nowhere to run in this enclosed pit of despair. The stark truth washes over him that a level 15 adventurer stands absolutely zero chance of escaping a level 1000 predator in the bowels of the dungeon. The hellhound growls, its twin heads weaving hypnotically as it prepares to strike the paralyzed boy. With a terrifying hiss, the beast lunges, jaws gaping wide to swallow its prey whole. Tears stream down his face as he clings to life, his soul screaming its refusal to be extinguished so easily. He frantically searches his pockets for a weapon, realizing he has lost his knife and fire starter, leaving him with absolutely nothing to defend himself. His trembling hand finds the only thing he has left, his supposedly useless gift that has never produced anything of value. Desperation fuels his scream as he activates the skill, praying for a miracle as a gacha card materializes in the air. He pours his longing for his family into the summon, demanding that the card release something, anything, to save him. His desire for vengeance burns bright as he begs the card for an item that can turn the tides. He anticipates the usual trash like rotten food or broken tools, hoping even garbage might serve as a momentary distraction. He roars his defiance at the heavens, refusing to let his story end in such a pathetic and lonely way. The card shatters, not into garbage, but into a massive, blindingly complex magic circle that envelopes the entire cavern floor. The Hellhound halts its attack, looking down in confusion as the immense magical energy surges around it. The magical construct spins violently, gathering power that hums with an intensity far beyond a simple item summon. Light shields his eyes, bewildered by the unprecedented reaction of his skill. The energy coalesces into a blinding vortex, pushing back the darkness of the abyss and stunning the monster. Even the level 1000 beast recoils in fear, sensing a power emerging that rivals its own. Light stares in awe as the light intensifies, unsure if he has summoned a weapon or a miracle. The Hellhound, regaining its predatory instinct, lunges through the light to crush the boy before the summon completes. The massive jaws snap shut mere inches from Light's cowering form, seemingly sealing his fate. A delicate hand interposes itself between the monster and the boy, stopping the lethal bite with effortless grace. Light squeezes his eyes shut, believing his life has ended in the jaws of the beast. A cold, imperious voice condemns the beast for daring to attack her master, followed instantly by the sound of flesh being rendered asunder. A stunningly beautiful woman in a maid outfit stands revealed, her presence radiating an aura of overwhelming power. The Hellhound is obliterated in an instant, its massive body reduced to chunks of gore raining down around the floating maid. She descends gracefully, her heels clicking softly against the stone floor amidst the carnage. Light stares up in slack-jawed amazement at his savior, his mind unable to process the angelic figure standing before him. The story continues with the revelation of the truth behind the boy's gift, marking the beginning of his struggle for survival. The powerful maid descends from the air with effortless grace, landing softly amidst the debris of the obliterated monster while Light watches in stunned silence. Her high-heeled shoes touch the stone floor with a delicate click, a stark contrast to the violence that just occurred. Dust settles around the pristine figure of the maid as she stands calmly in the center of the cavern, her presence dominating the space before the bewildered boy. Light gapes at her, his mouth hanging open in a wordless expression of pure shock and confusion. The maid immediately drops to one knee before him, bowing her head in a gesture of absolute servitude and respect. She raises her face to look at him, her expression softening into a look of gentle adoration and relief. Light stammers incoherently, completely unable to process why this incredible being is treating him with such reverence. She apologizes for overstepping her bounds, explaining that she couldn't bear to see his beautiful skin marred by injury and healed him unconsciously. She bows her head deeply once more, asking for forgiveness for her selfish action of healing him without permission. Light touches his chest and realizes with a jolt that his wounds have completely vanished and the pain is gone. The maid looks up with a pleading gaze, asking to know the name of the master she now serves. He points to himself nervously, stuttering out that his name is Light. Her eyes sparkle with delight as she savors the sound of his name, repeating it with profound reverence. She continues to chant his name softly, tasting the syllables as if they were a sacred incantation. She clasps her hands against her chest, declaring it to be a truly beautiful and magnificent name. With solemn devotion, she vows to dedicate her entire existence to him, serving him as his loyal maid. She goes further, stating without hesitation that she is willing to sacrifice her very life for his sake. Her gaze hardens with resolve as she promises eternal loyalty to her new master. Light stares at her blankly, his mind reeling as he tries to formulate a coherent response to her intensity. He finally manages to ask the burning question of what exactly just happened to bring her here. She politely asks for permission to formally introduce herself to him before explaining. After receiving his nod, she thanks him and apologizes again for the delay in her introduction. She reveals herself to be May, a seeker maid of level 9999, summoned from a super-ultra-rare card. She explains that she was called forth by his blessing, the unlimited gacha, as a manifestation of that top-tier card. Light shouts in disbelief, unable to comprehend that his supposedly trash skill produced a super-ultra-rare card. May smiles warmly, promising to be the wings that let him fly and the solid earth beneath his feet. She vows to protect him from any threat, ensuring that no monster in this dungeon will ever harm him again. Light stares at her, his mind struggling to accept this reality after years of being told his power was useless. He collapses to his knees, muttering that it must be a mistake because everyone knows his unlimited gacha only produces garbage. May leans in with a gentle smile, asking if she can use her identify skill to examine him and his power. Light agrees hesitantly, still confused but willing to let her verify the truth of his abilities. She begs him to allow it, her eyes pleading for the chance to prove his worth. He is taken aback by her eagerness, blushing slightly at her close proximity. May thanks him profusely, praising his kindness for granting the request of a humble servant. She activates her skill and immediately declares that it is impossible for someone with such an extraordinary blessing to be weak. Light is more surprised that she possesses the Identify skill, a rare ability in itself. He asks if he can truly use the Identify skill through her, and she confirms it is one of her abilities he can access. Her eye glows with a complex mechanical light as the skill activates, scanning deep into the nature of his power. Windows of information pop up in Light's vision, revealing detailed data that was previously hidden from everyone else. May touches her cheek with a proud smile, remarking that his power is so vast she cannot even see its end. The interface explains the card ranks from normal to extreme, revealing that the ambient magic density determines the quality of his pulls. Light reads the information, puzzled by the connection between magic density and his gacha results. He recalls that mages use the magical energy present in the atmosphere to cast their spells. The text reveals that his unlimited gacha absorbs this ambient magical energy to create the cards he summons. It explains that the surface has thin mana, making good pulls impossible, while the deep abyss is rich with the energy needed for high-tier summons. Light finally understands why his power was considered trash on the surface but produced a god-tier summon down here. He realizes that while he only half understands the technical details, the core truth is that he summoned May because of the dungeon's depth. May praises him for coming to the abyss alone just to summon her, misinterpreting his presence as a deliberate strategic choice. She expresses concern that he came to such a dangerous place without a weapon, worried for his safety despite the success. He looks away, unable to meet her eyes as the painful memory of his arrival resurfaces. She reiterates her vow to protect him, sensing his distress but not knowing the cause. She leans in closer, asking gently if there is something wrong. He admits through gritted teeth that he did not come to the bottom of the abyss alone. He drops to his knees, explaining to May that her assumption about his arrival was completely wrong. Tears flow freely as he confesses that he was betrayed by his comrades and left for dead in this hellhole. May pulls him into a warm embrace, pressing his head against her chest to comfort him. She holds him tighter as he sobs, offering silent support for his broken heart. Her eyes narrow with a dangerous intensity as she listens to his weeping. She acknowledges that a maid like her cannot fully understand his pain, but she recognizes that he has endured a terrible experience. May leans in close to her master, assuring him that as long as she is by his side, he possesses the undeniable power to strike back against the bastards who betrayed him. She stakes her sacred duty as a maid on this promise, pledging to hunt them down and present their severed heads to him immediately if he simply issues the command. Light panics at her lethal efficiency, stammering out a desperate order for her to stop and insisting that she cannot just execute them right now. May counters with cold pragmatism, arguing that showing mercy to such enemies is a meaningless waste of effort, though she attributes his hesitation to his inherent kindness. Light's expression darkens as he sharply corrects her, clarifying that his refusal has absolutely nothing to do with mercy or forgiveness for his tormentors. Intrigued by the steel in his voice, May tilts her head and asks her master to articulate exactly what course of action he intends to take instead. She watches him with unwavering focus, her eyes narrowing slightly as she silently awaits the declaration of his true intent. Light's mind flashes back to the jagged peaks of the abyss where he was discarded, acknowledging that his blind trust and subsequent deception nearly resulted in his death. He clenches his hand into a trembling fist, accepting the bitter truth that this tragedy occurred solely because he was too weak to prevent it. His gaze lowers as he internalizes the harsh reality of his situation, preparing to voice a resolve born from his near-death experience. He declares with burning conviction that he will forge his own strength and exact vengeance upon them with his own two hands rather than relying on others. His ambitions expand beyond simple revenge as he demands to uncover every secret regarding the master, title, and the nation that targeted him for execution. The fire of determination burns clearly in his eyes, signaling the death of the naive boy who fell into the dungeon and the birth of an avenger. May stares at him in silence, causing Light to briefly worry that she might doubt a human's capacity to achieve such lofty and violent goals. She dispels his fears by curtsying elegantly, aligning her will with his and asking permission to assist him in exacting this personal vengeance as his loyal maid. She reassures him with absolute confidence that above all else, he is destined to succeed in both his revenge and his quest to unveil the hidden truths of the world. Light beams with a genuine, relieved smile, blushing slightly as he thanks May for her unwavering support and belief in him. She humbly deflects his gratitude, insisting that such praise is wasted on a mere servant doing her duty. Light gazes out into the vast darkness of the dungeon, declaring that he will follow May's advice to build his own kingdom and gather powerful comrades right here in the depths of the abyss. 3 years have passed since the betrayal in the abyss, marking the beginning of a meticulously planned vengeance deep within the dungeon's lowest levels. The silence of the stone corridor is broken by the rhythmic tap of solitary footsteps echoing against the walls. The steady, confident gait continues, signaling the approach of someone who walks with newfound authority. Each step carries the weight of the time that has passed, drawing closer to a grand hall. A legion of maids stands in perfect formation, bowing deeply in unison as their master walks past the long line of devoted servants. Light, now older and exuding a calm dignity, walks through the center of the hall, praising his servants for their excellent work. He smiles gently at them, expressing his sincere gratitude for their loyalty and service. The sound of rapid, energetic footsteps approaches as 3 small figures come rushing down the hall. The figures blur with speed, racing each other to be the first to reach their beloved master. They collide with him in a chaotic flurry of affection, screaming about how lucky they are even to touch him or see him speak. Light is nearly toppled by the enthusiastic embrace while May giggles from the side, asking if she should silence the noisy trio. The scene shifts briefly to a memory of the trio's chaotic dynamic, where they argue and scold one another during their daily routine. Voices echo from the training center, confirming that the 3 elites are usually found honing their skills there. A cat-eared girl named Aoyuki confidently asserts that she can do math, preparing to prove her intelligence. She begins reciting multiplication tables but fails immediately, confidently stating incorrect answers. A chop to the head corrects her stupidity, reminding her that she cannot even master the basics. Back in the present, Light arrives at the entrance of the rocky chamber where the 3 were waiting. A knight named Nazuna rushes forward first, her face lighting up with joy as she asks if he came specifically to see her. She beams with pure happiness, her tail wagging metaphorically at his presence. A witch named Eri interrupts the moment, mocking Nazuna for lacking the elegance required to entertain their master. Eri shamelessly lifts her skirt to reveal her legs, declaring that she is always ready to bear Light's children. Nazuna immediately calls her out for acting like a pervert despite her lack of experience, urging the group to move to Eri's room. Aoyuki jumps into the conversation with innocent curiosity, asking the older girls what lewd means based on things the fairy maids taught her. She latches onto Light's arm, prompting jealous cries from the other 2 who accuse her of being unfair. Light scratches Aoyuki's chin like a cat, which she enjoys immensely despite her verbal protests of cheating. May steps in to restore order, announcing that their master has come to discuss a serious matter with the 3 of them. Light gently reprimands Aoyuki, telling her that she needs to listen seriously as well. The atmosphere suddenly shifts as a massive hellhound materializes, looming over the group in the rocky terrain. Light's body freezes instinctively, the trauma of his near-death experience 3 years ago resurfacing at the sight of the beast. The monster begins to move, its massive form casting a shadow over the gathered party. The 3 girls immediately turn on the beast, condemning it to death for its foolishness in disturbing their master. They declare that while they usually allow such creatures to live, daring to approach Light with hostility is a crime punishable by extinction. They assert that annoying their master is a sin that warrants erasing the creature's entire existence from the face of the earth. The 3 reveal their true nature as level 9999 entities: Oyuki the monster tamer, Nazuna the vampire knight, and Eri the forbidden mage. The hellhound, realizing the overwhelming power difference, shivers in absolute terror and lets out a pathetic whimper. Light intervenes with a calm smile, noting that the creature is already frightened enough and they can stop their intimidation. The girls apologize but immediately obey, switching from bloodlust to fawning over the petrified monster simply because Light told them to. They turn their attention back to Light, asking what important news he has to share, noting that the monsters would go extinct if he joked around. Light smiles broadly, announcing that May has contacted him and the prey they have been waiting for has finally been caught. The girls erupt in celebration, congratulating him and pledging to work hard for the upcoming plan. They admit that while they dislike May's strategy of using Light as bait, they will prepare thoroughly to ensure his safety. Light walks away, leaving the execution of the plan in their capable hands with a trusting parting word. The three girls tremble with excitement, eager to unleash their power for their master's sake. Light takes a deep breath, steeling himself for the confrontation that is about to unfold. He declares that after 3 long years of waiting, the time for revenge has finally arrived. The scene shifts to the bustling city of Akura in the Beastman Alliance, where Guru walks through the streets. He is swarmed by adoring fans and citizens who greet him with immense respect and admiration. Guru revels in the attention, soaking up the praise as the strongest candidate for the next leader of the wolf race. He sits in a luxurious establishment, savoring the taste of high-quality sake. Surrounded by sycophants in a VIP room, he enjoys the finest hospitality the city has to offer. His underlings heap praise upon him, calling him a star among orphans and admiring his immense wealth. They attribute his success to his ability to use his senses and complete jobs perfectly, specifically referencing the secret mission from 3 years ago. Guru grins into his drink, thinking privately that his fortune was built solely on the murder of a helpless child. He recalls how they assumed the boy died in the abyss after teleporting, allowing them to collect the payment without ever finding a body. A dark smirk plays on his lips as he thinks about how easy it was to kill the confused boy, though he briefly wonders about the real master. He ponders what exactly a master is that makes every nation so desperate to acquire one. His survival instincts kick in, warning him that digging too deep into that mystery would likely lead to his death. He dismisses the thought, focusing instead on his current status as the top candidate to lead the violent orphan wolves. He clinks his glass, confident that he can reach the absolute peak of his society whenever he chooses. He declares arrogantly that he is already at the top, oblivious to the vengeance heading his way. Guru laughs raucously, slamming his hand on the table and demanding that the staff bring him their finest sake immediately. A calm, polite voice interrupts his boisterous meal, apologizing for the intrusion and asking for his attention. The stranger seeks confirmation of his identity, asking if he is indeed Guru, the former member of the Gathering of Races. Guru snaps back aggressively, warning the stranger not to speak so casually to him while dismissing them as a weak creature. He pauses mid-insult, his irritation turning into curiosity as he actually turns around to see who is addressing him. His demeanor shifts as he realizes the stranger is a human woman, and he arrogantly asks what she could possibly want with him. He leers at her, thinking to himself that despite being a human, she is actually quite beautiful. The woman states her business plainly, requesting that he guide her to the last known location of Lightsama. Guru's smirk vanishes instantly, replaced by a look of genuine shock as he stammers out the name he thought was buried in the past. The woman introduces herself as May, bowing slightly with a refined elegance. She declares herself to be a servant who has sworn eternal loyalty to Light, intending to serve him forever. She explains that she is currently searching for her master, Light, and has come to Guru for answers. Guru deduces that since she came to a former party member like him, she must have failed to find Light on her own. He nods to himself, confirming that she sought him out specifically because of his past connection to the boy. May produces a heavy pouch of coins, offering to pay him for his services even if the chances of finding clues are slim. Guru scoffs internally at the foolishness of humans paying to see a murder scene, but his interest is piqued. He eyes the pouch greedily, shocked by the massive amount of money she is offering just for a guide. His suspicion rises as he wonders if the entire country is searching for Light and if they made a mistake by killing him. He considers the possibility that they killed the wrong person or that Light was actually a noble in disguise. He quickly dismisses the thought, rationalizing that the elite Dragonote race owes him one regardless of any mistake. His greed shifts from the money to the woman herself, eyeing May's figure with predatory intent. He licks his lips, deciding that she is far too pretty to just be a client and would be a waste to leave alone. He gulps down his drink, his mind filled with excitement at the prospect of having some fun with her. He agrees to the job with a sinister grin, telling her he accepts the request to help with her investigation. Privately, he plans to enjoy himself with her during the trip and then sell her off for even more profit once he is done. He reassures himself that he can easily come up with a backup plan if this turns out to be a trap. He gives her a thumbs up, promising to show her exactly where Light was last seen alive. He brushes off her formal address, telling her to call him whatever she likes as he prepares to leave. May smiles brightly, her face lighting up with innocent joy at his willingness to help. Guru lies smoothly, warning her that the Abyss is the worst dungeon on Earth and too dangerous to travel alone. He claims he is doing this only because Light was his best friend and this is a request from someone he knew. He puffs out his chest, boasting that he will gather his subordinates to ensure they reach the location safely. He adds arrogantly that as the next leader of the wolves, his protection is absolute. Mei clasps her hands together, thanking him profusely for his supposed kindness. Garou drools slightly as he looks at her, eagerly promising to escort her personally. Internally, he vows to destroy this naive woman in the exact same spot where he hurt Light years ago. He gets fired up, his sadistic nature thrilling at the thought of repeating history. The scene transitions as the group sets out for the dungeon. A party of 12 people accompanied by 10 beastmen escorts heads toward the entrance of the Abyss. They navigate the treacherous terrain effortlessly, avoiding all combat thanks to the beastmen's superior scouting abilities. One of the beastmen scouts notices something ahead and calls out to alert the group. They arrive at a desolate rocky clearing in the middle floors of the dungeon, the supposed location of the tragedy. Garou points to an empty spot, claiming this is where Light's bad luck caused him to trigger a teleportation trap. He explains that monsters then ambushed them, preventing them from saving Light, who was already badly injured. Mei stands silently, her head bowed and eyes closed as if in mourning. Garou continues his fabrication, stating they can do whatever they want now since the exit is blocked. He mocks her internally, thinking about how easy it is to deceive such a weak creature. He feigns deep regret, apologizing aloud for his inability to protect her master that day. He claims they weren't fast enough to save him from his fate because of his injuries. He suggests that the bastards must have betrayed him here, in this dirty and dark place. Garou suddenly hears a strange sound and pauses his monologue. He continues his act, lamenting that if he had only been closer, he could have prevented the boy from bleeding out. Suddenly, he drops the act completely and jumps back, asking how she knew about the bleeding. His brother looks at him in confusion, asking what is wrong with him. Garou ignores him, stating that only the gathering of races and the higher-ups know the truth about what happened here. He accuses her of working for someone else, demanding to know if she is a spy from another race. Mei repeats the word, spy, with a calm, detached tone. She reiterates her previous statement that she has sworn eternal loyalty to Light and no one else. She declares that for someone who insults the sacred duty of a servant, she must reveal his true nature. The beastmen flinch violently as a terrifying aura suddenly emanates from her. Garou is shocked to find himself trembling, questioning why someone as strong as him is shaking. He tries to rationalize his fear, telling himself she is just prey from a weak race that he should be selling. A massive shockwave erupts from Mei, blasting the beastmen back with sheer force. Mei's eyes glow with a terrifying light as she glares at the traitor, freezing him in place. Garou finds himself paralyzed by fear, realizing with horror that he cannot move and could die. A calm voice cuts through the tension, telling Mei that it is not her turn yet, causing Garou to look for the source. A hooded figure steps out, declaring this moment is for Garou as Mei obediently stands down. The figure pulls back his hood to reveal Light's face, causing Garou to scream in terror as he realizes his victim is alive. Light beams with a bright, innocent smile, announcing that he has returned specifically to settle the score for the events of 3 years ago. Garou and his underlings stare at him in bewilderment, with the leader questioning if the boy is seriously trying to ambush them alone. The Beastman leader freezes, his snarl dying in his throat as a realization begins to dawn on him. He laughs nervously, trying to dismiss the absurdity of the situation with a forced chuckle. Garou sneers, asking if a level 15 fly like Light truly believes he can challenge him. Light stares back calmly, his expression unreadable as his former party member mocks him. The Beastman roars with laughter, finding the idea of revenge from such a weakling to be the height of comedy. He continues to cackle, calling humans stupid for even attempting such a foolish confrontation. Garou grins maliciously, declaring that bringing Light's corpse back will earn him a huge favor from the Dragonote leader. He mocks Light's survival, wondering how he is still alive but noting that it doesn't matter since he just walked into his own death. Light sighs, looking at his old companion with pity as if dealing with a slow child. He remarks that he expected more, but it seems Garou is still as short-sighted as ever. Yuki watches from behind, her expression unreadable as she observes the confrontation. Light asks rhetorically if no one ever told Garou that he is weak. He looks down at the Beastman with cold eyes, stating that 3 years have passed and he is still being underestimated. Garou's grin falters for a second, replaced by annoyance at the boy's arrogant tone. He shouts back that unlike Light, he and his elite wolves can level up and grow stronger. He boasts about their overwhelming power, claiming that the gap between them is insurmountable. Light closes his eyes, reciting the harsh truth of their world where level dictates everything. Garou puffs out his chest, declaring his level of 158 as proof of his absolute superiority. He asserts that he is far above a level 15 human, calling Light a weak creature once again. Light opens his eyes, correcting Garou's assumption about the source of human weakness. He explains that humans are born with talent and levels, implying that his current state is not what it seems. He states firmly that he will not lose just because he is human or because he was once weak. Garou notices something strange on the ground behind Light and squints to get a better look. He wonders why there are heads lying on the ground near the entrance. He tries to rationalize it as a trick, refusing to believe what his eyes are seeing. He shouts at his subordinates to follow his orders, trying to regain control of the situation. He commands them to attack, refusing to waste time on cheap tricks. The wolves lunge forward with their weapons, shouting their intent to kill. Light stands his ground, surrounded by enemies but completely unfazed by their advance. A dull thud echoes through the cavern as the first attacker is stopped cold. More sounds of impact follow as invisible blows strike the wolves down one by one. Bodies fly through the air, crashing into the stone walls with bone-shattering force. Screams of pain fill the air as the elite squad is decimated in an instant. Light watches the carnage with wide eyes, feigning surprise at the sudden turn of events. A monstrous voice asks if that is really all they have to offer. Garou stares in horror as a massive beast materializes from thin air, its jaws dripping with saliva. He realizes with terrified certainty that the legends were true and he is staring death in the face. Light looks up at the monster, calmly asking what is wrong. The beast growls low in its throat, disappointment evident in its tone. It complains that the so-called elite wolves were boring and weak opponents. Light smirks, noting that the monster seems unsatisfied with the quality of its meal. Garou trembles, his mind struggling to comprehend the power of the creature before him. He stammers out a question, asking who this monster is. The beast introduces itself as the Shadow Wolf, a creature of legend. Light explains that he summoned it, revealing the true nature of his power. Garou's eyes bulge as he realizes the boy controls a monster far stronger than any of them. He falls to his knees, his will to fight completely shattered by the overwhelming presence. The story continues with Light holding his staff, looking determined to confront his past and execute his carefully laid plan. The scene shifts to the aftermath of Garou's ambush, where the Beastman is shown being struck by a powerful, unseen force that sends him flying. He crashes hard into the stone wall, his body convulsing as he coughs up blood from the impact. Light stands over him, his expression unreadable as he watches his former tormentor struggle to breathe. Garou attempts to rise, but his limbs fail him, his body broken by the overwhelming force of the attack. His elite wolves are shown being decimated, their bodies flung around the cavern like ragdolls by the invisible assault. They scream in agony as they are pummeled relentlessly, unable to even see what is hitting them. The sheer brutality of the beatdown leaves no room for resistance, reducing the proud warriors to whimpering victims. Garou watches in horror as his subordinates are crushed, realizing too late that he has made a fatal miscalculation. Light observes the chaos calmly, his earlier fear completely gone, replaced by a cold, calculating gaze. He mocks Garou, asking if he really thought he could win just because he had numbers on his side. Garou stares back with wide, terrified eyes, finally understanding the depth of the power gap between them. A massive, shadowy figure materializes behind Light, revealing the source of the invisible attacks. The monster roars, its terrifying visage causing even the bravest of the wolves to cower in fear. Light introduces his summon, explaining that this is not just any monster, but a creature of immense power. The beast unleashes a devastating attack, tearing through the remaining wolves with effortless ease. Garou is left speechless, his mind unable to process the level of destruction unfolding before him. He realizes that Light is not the weak boy he once knew, but a master of monsters far beyond his comprehension. The shadow monster finishes its work, leaving a trail of broken bodies in its wake. Light commands the creature to stop, satisfied with the message he has sent to his enemy. Garou trembles, his pride shattered along with his elite squad, as he faces his inevitable demise. He tries to beg for mercy, but the words catch in his throat as he looks into Light's cold eyes. Light reminds him of their past, recounting the cruelty he suffered at Garou's hands. He declares that today is the day he settles the score, ensuring that Garou pays for every sin. He summons another card, the air crackling with energy as a new, even more powerful monster begins to take form. Garou screams as he recognizes the legendary Fenrir, a beast of myth that should not exist. He shouts that it's impossible for a human to control such a creature, his sanity fraying at the edges. Light smirks, revealing that this is his true ace, a level 9000 monster that surpasses anything in this world. The Fenrir growls, its presence alone enough to crush the spirit of anyone who stands before it. Light commands the Fenrir to attack, unleashing a beam of pure energy that obliterates everything in its path. Garou watches the beam approach, knowing that there is no escape from this ultimate judgment. He tries to run, but his legs refuse to move, paralyzed by the sheer terror of the impending doom. The beam strikes, engulfing Garou and his remaining forces in a blinding light. The explosion rocks the cavern, the shockwave tearing through the stone and shaking the very foundations of the dungeon. Dust and debris fill the air, obscuring the view as the destructive energy dissipates. Light stands amidst the ruin, his expression one of grim satisfaction as the dust settles. He looks at the spot where Garou stood, now nothing but a scorched crater in the ground. He remarks that it is finally over, the first step of his revenge complete. He turns to leave, his work done, but stops as he hears a faint sound from the rubble. Garou emerges from the debris, battered and broken but miraculously still alive. He coughs up blood, glaring at Light with a mixture of hatred and fear. He demands to know how a weak human could possess such power, refusing to accept his defeat. Light looks down at him, explaining that his power comes from the very thing they mocked him for. He reveals the true nature of his unlimited gacha, a power that scales with the magic of the environment. Garou stares in disbelief, realizing that by throwing Light into the abyss, they gave him the ultimate weapon. He laughs bitterly at the irony, acknowledging that his own cruelty led to his downfall. Light raises his hand, preparing to deliver the final blow to end his suffering. Garou closes his eyes, accepting his fate as the energy gathers in Light's palm. A sudden blast of magic interrupts them, knocking Light back and creating a cloud of smoke. A figure emerges from the smoke, shielding Garou from the attack. The newcomer glares at Light, their power radiating a dangerous aura that rivals his own. Light narrows his eyes, recognizing the new threat as one of his former party members. He realizes that the game has changed, and his revenge will not be as simple as he thought. The enemy declares that they will not let him kill Garou, vowing to stop him here and now. Light smiles, welcoming the challenge as he prepares to face his next opponent. He declares that he will crush them all, one by one, until his vengeance is complete. The two forces clash, their powers colliding in a spectacular display of magic and might. The battle rages on, the outcome uncertain as both sides unleash their full potential. Light fights with the fury of a man wronged, his determination fueling his every move. The close-up of Light's face, his eyes burning with the promise of future retribution. A massive white wolf materializes in a burst of light, its pristine fur glowing with divine power as it stands protectively behind Light. Light commands the beast with cold authority, ordering his new summon to kill the impostor claiming the title of Fenrir. The cavern shakes as the founder Fenrir unleashes a powerful shockwave with a single breath. Garou's Fenrir freezes in terror, its instincts screaming that it is facing a predator far beyond its league. The sound of cracking ice fills the air as the lesser monster begins to shatter under the pressure. A sickening snap echoes through the dungeon as the fake Fenrir's body breaks apart like glass. The impostor disintegrates into nothingness, unable to withstand the sheer presence of the true legend. The founder Fenrir sits calmly, its massive form dwarfing everything in the vicinity as it awaits further orders. Light smiles brightly, praising his summon like a good pet and calling it a clever boy. Garou stares in horror, sweat pouring down his face as he watches his strongest card vanish in an instant. He collapses to the ground, his mind unable to process the destruction of his level 500 ace. His underlings look on in shock, unable to articulate their fear as their leader falls into despair. Garou screams in denial, refusing to believe that his unbeatable monster was defeated so easily. Light mocks him, pointing out that he didn't even need to summon the founder Fenrir to win. The white wolf snarls at the trembling beastman, its patience wearing thin with the noisy prey. Light smiles confidently, revealing the reason behind his overwhelming victory. Garou's eyes widen in realization and terror as the truth finally hits him. An interface window appears above Light, displaying his impossible level of 9,999, proving he has transcended all known limits. The story continues with a shocking revelation as a massive white wolf materializes, dwarfing Garou and his subordinates with its sheer presence. An interface window appears next to the beast, identifying it as the founder Fenrir with an impossible level of 9,000. Garou stammers in disbelief, his mind unable to comprehend a level that high, muttering that the average human level is only around 100. Light calmly explains that May also shares this level of power, with her level sitting at 9991, while he himself is level 9999. Garou realizes with dawning horror that he is hopelessly outmatched, understanding that his level of 500 is nothing compared to the godlike beings before him. He screams at Light, demanding to know if he is truly the same boy he betrayed 3 years ago. He points out that a human child should have grown significantly in 3 years, yet Light looks exactly the same. Light explains that he used an item called the Bracelet of Eternity from his gacha to halt his physical growth. He smiles coldly, stating that he wanted to preserve the feelings of anger, sadness, and despair he felt that day exactly as they were. Garou stares into the gaping maw of the Fenrir, his bravado completely shattered by the reality of his situation. He realizes that Light has become a monster from another dimension, someone entirely different from the boy he once knew. The thought of imminent death crashes into his mind, repeating like a broken record as terror takes hold. He throws himself to the ground in a desperate prostration, slamming his head against the stone floor. He begs for his life, claiming that he was only following orders from the country and had no choice in the matter. Light looks down at him with a blank expression, unmoved by the sudden display of submission. Garou continues to plead, desperately trying to convince Light that he is just a victim of circumstance. He claims that he was forced to betray him, hoping to shift the blame onto his superiors. He reminds Light of the good times they shared, like eating meat skewers together, trying to appeal to their past friendship. He even brings up how he used to scare people who bullied Light, grasping at straws to save his own skin. He begs Light to remember those moments and spare him for the sake of their old bond. Light cuts him off sharply, calling him a coward for trying to save himself after everything he did. Garou flinches at the harsh words, realizing that his appeal to emotion has failed completely. Light tells him that he has one question for him before he decides his fate. He demands to know exactly what the country meant by the term master. Garou stays prostrate on the ground, stammering that he honestly doesn't know the answer. He claims he was only told to find the master by the higher-ups and has no idea what the title actually means. He repeats that he really doesn't know why the country is searching for a master. He insists that he has no idea why they wanted to kill Light once they realized he wasn't the one they were looking for. Light stares at him in silence, his expression unreadable as he processes the lack of information. He realizes that Garou is telling the truth and really doesn't know anything of value. He deduces that since beast men have fewer skills than other races, they are kept in the dark by the higher-ups. Garou tries to explain that beast men have superior physical qualities, which allows them to level up faster, but they lack the intelligence for complex plots. Light turns to the other beastmen, asking if any of them know anything about the master. They all shake their heads, confirming that they are just as clueless as their leader. Light sighs, disappointed but not surprised that his interrogation has hit a dead end. Garou sees an opening and desperately asks if Light will let him live since he told him everything he knows. He claims that he has also heard rumors and knows some things, trying to bargain with non-existent information. Light smiles kindly, thanking him for his honesty and cooperation. May steps forward, her expression dark as she condemns Garou for daring to lie to her master. She prepares to attack, declaring that he deserves 1,000 deaths for his deception. Light stops her with a hand, stating that he already knew there wouldn't be any useful information from them. Garou flinches again, terrified by the sudden shift in atmosphere. The Fenrir shakes its massive head, impatient to finish the job. Light sighs, admitting that he wanted to ask one more thing before they leave. The Fenrir growls menacingly, its patience wearing thin with the cowardly beastman. Light asks if they think they can win against the entire surface world with their current power. He wonders aloud if their overwhelming strength would be enough to conquer all the nations above. May hesitates, beeping as she calculates the odds of such a conflict. She sweats nervously, unsure how to answer her master's ambitious question. She admits that while Light is incredibly strong, he would have a temporary advantage at best. She explains that it would be nearly impossible to win against the entire world alone. She points out that no matter how high his level is, he is still just one individual. She estimates that he could destroy maybe a third of the world before being overwhelmed. She reminds him that the nations have thousands of years of history and possess legendary weapons and armor that could threaten him. Light listens thoughtfully, absorbing her analysis with a calm expression. The Fenrir shivers, seemingly excited by the prospect of such a massive war. Light smiles, stating that her assessment matches his own thoughts on the matter. He acknowledges that even with their power, they have limits and cannot fight the whole world at once. He looks down at Guru, who is paralyzed with fear as he listens to them discuss destroying the world. Light tells Guru to answer his question again once they reach the other side, hinting that their journey is far from over. An interface window appears, confirming the activation of the teleportation skill as Light and his entourage begin their exit from the abyss. A blinding light envelopes the group, transporting them instantly from the dungeon's depths to the surface world. Guru and his surviving men shield their eyes, disoriented by the sudden shift in environment and the brilliance of the magic. The light fades, revealing a desolate rocky landscape that is distinctly not the dungeon they were just fighting in. A massive crater is visible in the ground, a testament to the sheer power of the teleportation magic that brought them here. Guru blinks, trying to adjust his vision as he processes their new location, confusion etched on his face. He realizes with a start that they are no longer underground, the open sky stretching out above them. Light stands at the edge of the crater, looking out at the horizon with a calm, contemplative expression. May and the other summons stand behind him, their presence as imposing as ever in the natural light. Guru stares at them, his mind racing as he tries to understand how they moved so quickly and effortlessly. He realizes that Light's power extends far beyond simple combat, encompassing travel and logistics on a scale he can't comprehend. Light turns back to face the beastmen, his expression unreadable as he prepares to address them one last time. Guru flinches, expecting an attack, but Light simply watches him with a detached curiosity. Light asks if Guru has any final words before they part ways, his tone deceptively polite. Guru stammers, his earlier bravado completely gone as he faces the reality of his situation. He tries to formulate a response, but fear chokes him, leaving him speechless in the face of his former victim. Light sighs, seemingly disappointed by Guru's lack of resolve even at the end. He signals to his summons, and the massive Fenrir steps forward, growling low in its throat. Guru scrambles backward, terror seizing him as the giant wolf looms over him once more. Light commands the Fenrir to wait, deciding to grant Guru a moment of respite before the end. He approaches Guru slowly, his footsteps echoing in the silence of the desolate landscape. Guru looks up at him, seeing not the weak boy he betrayed, but a ruler deciding the fate of a subject. Light asks Guru again about the master title, hoping that the fear might have jogged his memory. Guru shakes his head frantically, swearing on his life that he truly knows nothing more than what he already said. Light nods slowly, accepting the answer as truth, much to Guru's relief. However, Light's expression hardens as he declares that ignorance is not an excuse for the cruelty inflicted upon him. He raises his hand, signaling the end of their conversation and the beginning of Guru's punishment. May steps forward, offering to handle the execution herself as a service to her master. Light declines, stating that this is something he must do himself to truly move on from his past. He summons a new card, the air shimmering as a powerful weapon materializes in his grip. Guru stares at the weapon, realizing that Light intends to kill him personally rather than relying on his monsters. He tries to stand and fight, a last-ditch effort to survive, but his injuries make it impossible. Light strikes, a swift and decisive blow that ends the life of the Beastman leader in an instant. Guru's body falls to the ground, lifeless, as the remaining wolves watch in silent horror. Light stands over the fallen enemy, no joy in his eyes, only a sense of closure. He turns to the remaining beastmen, telling them to leave and spread the word of what happened here. The wolves scramble to escape, terrified that they will be next if they linger too long. Light watches them go, knowing that his message will reach the ears of those who need to hear it. May approaches him, asking if he is all right after taking a life with his own hands. Light smiles faintly, assuring her that he is fine and that it was necessary for his growth. He looks out at the world beyond the crater, his mind already turning to the next step of his journey. He declares that now that he has left the abyss, his true revenge against the nations of the world can begin. He vows to uncover the truth behind the master title and the conspiracy that nearly killed him. He reflects on the 3 years he spent in darkness, using them as fuel for the fire that now burns within him. He promises to use his gift to reshape the world, whether as a savior or a destroyer, depending on the truth he finds. He asks May and his other summons if they are ready to follow him on this path of destruction and rebirth. They all kneel before him, pledging their eternal loyalty and strength to his cause. Light smiles, satisfied with their devotion, as he prepares to unleash his full power upon the surface world. The final scene shows Light standing at the forefront of his army, ready to march into the unknown. The beginning of the adventurer's arc marks the next step in the story, signaling the start of the revenge plot. Light stands solemnly, holding a bouquet of white flowers, preparing himself for a necessary ritual before moving forward with his plans. He closes his eyes, his expression somber and contemplative as he pays his respects. He kneels before two simple wooden crosses, revealing that he has returned to the ruins of his village to visit the graves of his parents. He explains to an unseen listener that his village is no more because someone deliberately destroyed it in the past. The scene shifts to a flashback of a desolate landscape under a dark, stormy sky, lightning illuminating the devastation. The ground is scarred and barren, showing the aftermath of a powerful and destructive force that swept through the area. Light recalls that he first visited the surface half a year ago, before he enacted his revenge on Gur. He explains that teleportation magic doesn't work outside the abyss, making the journey to the surface difficult and time-consuming. He stands frozen in shock, his eyes wide with horror as he stares at the complete destruction of his home. A bleached human skull lies among the ruins, a grim testament to the fate of the villagers. The village is completely unrecognizable, reduced to rubble and decay with no signs of life. The flashback shows the extent of the damage, with buildings flattened and the land scorched. Light states plainly that his village was razed to the ground, leaving nothing behind. He cries out in anguish, asking the empty air why something like this had to happen. He kneels before the graves, explaining that he ordered his subordinates to investigate the incident but found no concrete answers due to the difficulty of the task. He admits that he searched the entire village but couldn't find the bodies of his brother and sister, giving him a sliver of hope. He clings to the possibility that they might still be alive somewhere since their remains were not among the dead. May approaches him quietly, asking if he has finished his prayers. Light confirms that he has said his goodbyes to his parents and told them he is doing well. Two armored figures stand waiting nearby as May suggests they leave immediately to find an inn before nightfall. She insists that they shouldn't sleep outside on the first day of their journey, prioritizing his comfort. The golden armored knight, Gold, agrees enthusiastically, shouting his name in confirmation. A smaller figure, Nemyamu, scolds him for being loud and tells him to think before he speaks, mindful of their master's mood. She admonishes him to speak politely to Light, showing her dedication to proper etiquette. Gold sighs, pointing out that Nemyamu doesn't want to camp outside either and that excessive formality creates distance. Nemyamu blushes and retorts that she would sleep anywhere as long as she is with Light, telling Gold not to compare his loyalty to hers. She declares her commitment as a golden knight, swearing to serve her master through blizzards or magma. However, she quickly concedes that they should avoid camping for Light's sake, agreeing with Gold's logic. Gold comments that her loyalty is a bit excessive, though he admits he feels the same way to a lesser extent. He warns her that being too pushy might make Light hate her, striking a nerve. Nemyamu panics at the thought, terrified by the idea that her devotion could backfire and cause her master to dislike her. She tears up, insisting that even if she dies and becomes a spirit, her duty as a maid will never change. Light watches their bickering with a small smile, amused by the lively dynamic of his subordinates. He laughs, telling Gold not to tease Nemyamu too much. May chimes in, suggesting that Light should speak his mind clearly to them or they won't understand his feelings. Interface cards appear, introducing Nemyamu as a level 5000 assassin blade and Gold as a level 5000 golden knight tank and scout. Light confirms that the adventurer plan has officially begun with these two as his guards. The group stands ready to depart, with Gold expressing his excitement for their adventure to begin. Nemyamu warns him again not to cause trouble for their master on the road, but Light interjects that they also need to gather information. He reveals that while they travel, Eri is preparing for her revenge and Sasha is the next target. May confirms this, noting that finding information is one of Light's primary goals. Light states that he is not foolish enough to start a war blindly, acknowledging that while they have the power to fight the world, they lack crucial intel. He admits that without information, they could still lose, so investigating the strongest fighters in each nation is a priority. He considers the possibility that other people with unique gifts like his might exist. Nemyamu dismisses the idea, refusing to believe anyone could rival Light's power. Light counters that he himself is proof of such anomalies, so the probability isn't zero. He emphasizes the need for caution regarding the Master, as they still don't know who or what it is. He insists on moving carefully, assuming the unknown Master is a powerful threat. He reiterates that gathering information is critical for their revenge and for uncovering the truth about the Master. Light pauses as he walks past the graves, his expression darkening for a moment. He reflects that the destruction of his village might be the work of monsters or bandits. However, he suspects a connection to the Master mystery given the timing and thoroughness of the destruction. He recalls a hooded figure from his memories, wondering why they would destroy his village just to kill him, just in case. He clenches his fist, vowing to turn the world into a living hell if it is truly hiding such dark secrets. Nemyamu shivers, sensing the terrifying aura emanating from her master. Light relaxes his hand, letting out a breath as he calms himself down. He reaffirms his resolve to uncover the truth and exact his vengeance. He says a final goodbye to his parents, promising to return later. He summons a clown's mask card, smiling as he tells the group it's time to go. Mei reminds him to be careful with his aura so he doesn't accidentally kill normal villagers, and Light agrees, putting on the mask. She teases Nemyamu for shaking earlier, but the assassin denies it, claiming she isn't scared. Light declares that they are finally on the surface, urging them to enjoy the journey. He flies into the air with his team, laughing as he embraces the start of their adventure. The group soars over the green landscape, leaving the desolate ruins of the village behind. A single speech bubble indicates a transition to the next scene. A close-up of a beastman's face appears, sweating nervously as he is interrogated. Light smiles menacingly behind his mask, asking the beastman to confirm if he is reading the story on the correct site. The beastman stares in terror as Light's true nature peeks through the facade. The beastman forces a nervous smile, agreeing with whatever Light says to avoid angering him. Light smiles pleasantly, satisfied with the answer as the chapter concludes.